Okay, good evening and welcome to the special meeting of the Hudson Board of Selectmen. I call the meeting to order.
Zoning board.
What'd I say?
Board of Selectmen.
I'm sorry, I was just, zoning board, at 7:10, in the evening. This is a special meeting, continuation of two previous meetings we've had, so I believe as we sit, we're before the board, but I'll have the attendance called first. I apologize to the selectmen.
Mr. Dearborn,
Present.
Mr. Pecosha,
Present.
Mr. Petrie, is
He's excused at the moment.
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Mr. Hool is present, and then Selectmen's representative, Mr. Moran,
Excused,
and Selectmen's rep, Mr. Martin,
excused as well.
Mr. Buttrick, town
He's
administrator,
excused.
and Louise Nee, and Chairman Brackett.
And I'm present. So the case is 172-018 and 22. This is the third meeting, and I believe the case is before the board from the last meeting.
I
But
don't
I'm-
know that, did you get a chance to testify all that you wanted?
Yeah, they did. Yep.
You're satisfied?
And we had, down in the first meeting, we had open testimony in a little different forum. But given the nature of this case, I'm gonna open the meeting up in a way that allows for interaction between the board and the applicant and people in the audience too. Because we put together two versions of a draft conditions of variance. I handed those out prior to the meeting, and one of which is similar to the one we discussed at length at the second meeting. The second one is one the applicant put together in, I believe, in discussions with our town council as well as, and submitted it tonight. I guess I want to talk a little bit about background. Since the last meeting, there's been a lot of discussion, as you might suspect, by the board of format, content, and we ran it through our town attorney, town council, and we had input from the offices upstairs. And what we have remains similar to what we had before, very little changes. Some input we received from town attorney, and I believe this was discussion between attorneys. And that may be reflected in your version as well, but, so I think tonight, we probably should look at both versions. Maybe not page, item by item, but the content differences between them.
I think that
And-
makes sense.
And to elaborate, I believe town council recommended a sketch-type concept site plan, is it?
What we were describing
Go ahead.
is the outside storage area.
Yes.
Attorney Panciaco for the record. That was relatively equal to the interior space of each unit, so there'd be proportionality. And what David wanted me to do is have a drawing
Yes.
showing that, which is my colored up attachment to our version.
Right, and Dave, you talk about is Dave LaFear,
Yes.
our town council.
Yes,
And he mentioned that to the board in correspondence between the meetings.
yes.
And just for the record, the board had been reluctant to do that, even though that would make it clear, because that's a planning board normally practiced by the planning board. But in further discussion with town council, it seemed like an initial concept type, not in any way to usurp the authority of the planning board, but to help frame in,
Yeah.
in picture what we were talking about in text before.
Yes,
Is that pretty much? Yeah.
yes.
One of the other things, and I think the basis, primary difference between these is the board had put together each different use with times and other conditions repeated for each specific use, where I believe the recommendation from town employees was to combine them, and I believe you had the same thoughts as well, and town attorney recommended to us he didn't care, either way was sufficient. I think we had some thoughts as to use them as like plug-in modules that you could take out, therefore repeated, but case in point of putting this on site plan would be very difficult, and so in the context of that, maybe in hindsight, we will reconsider that, but that, I believe, was the majority of the changes
Yes.
that town attorney had, as well as you, that, my understanding of your changes.
Well, primarily, he was looking for the sketch.
Yeah.
And I had no issue with that because we had already represented to the board
Yes.
that this was what we were going to do, so we put it on a drawing to attach. At least it gives a rough idea. A picture speaks a 1,000 words.
And I think it would be helpful to the planning board. I'm gonna represent what I think are maybe 3 more items. One is, I believe we added in holidays and other town observable national holidays as times. And we can discuss those, but
Yep.
those have been added. I just lost the thought of what another one was something about, the board had thought we should put some plantings along the property line, and that wasn't so much at the request of abutters, but as the board thought should be done in any event, and I believe your version may not have that in it.
No, it doesn't. We don't feel that's necessary, and the
We can-
abutter didn't either.
We
So-
can talk about it, but I'm just trying to represent what, and, the other one is, there was a lot of discussion about, 14 Tolls Street.
Yes,
Now, the case brought before us was 15 and 17, not 14. So it was advertised for 15 and 17,
yes,
although the property owner owns all 3.
yes.
And the storage area that's in discussion here for the businesses on 15 and 17 is on 14.
Yes,
So we need to discuss that in terms of how we hear it or advertise it or not. So, but those are the things that I know of. Is there anything else that it's an open item? I'm hoping to not relive the hard work we've done already, but to just close the discussion. Anything, and from the board, is there anything else that's new, different?
Yeah, that we have a determination from the zoning administrator that the variance for 14 Toll Street is expired.
Oh,
So that, because it wasn't acted upon. So, in my mind, that means that the activities that are on 14 Toll aren't restricted by that former variance.
right.
So we can view this as a board that that property is, I hate to use the words free and clear, but it's that property.
open
14
again.
It's open again, right.
Had you heard that?
I saw that in the staff report, but I don't agree with that.
That's what I figured, yeah.
Why
Is-
would you figure that?
Well, as we saw the property in the discussions at the meeting, it seems like there's never been a time when it wasn't used for various things, and we can't tell what was used when, even on 15 and 17, so we left that open. But,
Is this open discussion?
yeah,
Okay.
let's take point by point. Do we want to hit that one first? Because
Sure.
let's go, okay. The board?
You know what I was thinking?
No, but
I was thinking, so I went through what the attorney did.
Yep.
I massacre your last name, so I'm just gonna call you the attorney, capital T. And it appears as though what the uses are that are being requested are the same as what we have on
our,
our
our
copy.
version, yeah.
And then the stipulations that the attorney has drafted are a consolidation of what we have on our sheets. So I think I would like, if the board, agrees, to go through the stipulations that the attorney has drafted and one by one, and find out if we're okay
Oh,
with those.
okay, that's fine. I was thinking that we should agree on what to do with 14 tolls, to put it in the discussion tonight or not.
Yeah, that's number 6 on the stipulations.
All right.
So if we get to, if we can get to that.
Yep.
That's a stipulation that would be part of the discussion of 14.
Okay, let's go. Let's take the applicant's,
Can I
Version.
just say
Go
as a
ahead.
general overall,
yeah,
Which one is which?
overarching, is that the document that we have that has the title at the top, 04 June Rev 4, which you now have,
Oh, this one here.
in my mind, that clearly defines
just a
the
minute.
uses.
Do we have a problem?
I'm just trying to figure out which one we're on.
Yeah, you came in late. Rev 4 is our version, and the one that says draft across it is the applicant's attorney's revised version of our Rev 4.
So this is the one that was prepared by the attorney?
Yes.
It was, just for clarity, it wasn't really prepared, it was really consolidation of what we did, and maybe there's edits.
All right. So
Okay.
we're looking at this one, the permitted,
Okay,
not the proposed.
we're gonna compare both, but,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, I'm sorry. Marielle?
I just wanted to make the overarching statement that the one that we have prepared, that's Rev 4, states each use and the stipulations, so it's very clear that they all apply, the particular stipulations apply to that particular use. Now, they may all be the same, but for future reference, I personally would prefer that it's very clear, at least on the variance grant, what we're saying is allowed by use. This, I think, is okay if it captures everything correctly for a site plan, if you will, so that it's consolidated and it's easier. But for the variance, I would prefer the long version so that there's no ambiguity that
I understand.
stipulation 1 doesn't apply to this particular
Can
use.
we do that?
Why not?
Change this one on the site plan, it should read the same.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah. Just to maybe further step on that comment is to say that we didn't know in the future that things may change within that, and that it could be changed for specific usage or another use.
Could be.
So therefore, it seemed cleaner, and we actually perceive this as maybe being used in other cases where there's been this use preceding any zoning, such that we have a precedent before us, so I can understand Ms. Davis's rationale, and matter of fact, it was mine as well at the time we put it together.
Yeah,
Um,
I do
Might-
want them to be the same, in the file and on the site.
I would
plan.
agree with you.
I would
I think,
agree.
I think
Absolutely.
I would agree. The-
we're very comfortable saying they will be the same.
Okay,
And just so you know, our reasoning for that, if there's a,
that makes sense.
if, so it's almost
But I
like,
view this document, if I may,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I view this document as more of like a plug and play, so that
Yeah.
if the applicant wants to add a use that's not here, all they need to do is either go by this, which it may fall under, or come in for a variance, and it would match the same thing. I think we've captured all the uses, but we don't know what the future's gonna bring. And
Absolutely.
if the applicant has the property for
We-
30 or 40 more years, you want to be able to swap the uses by building and swap the use itself. right?
And my fear is that somebody else buys this property and you're 39, they go, they didn't mean this. And this way with specifics,
Right,
even I would understand what it meant, you know?
okay.
Yeah.
So do you
Um,
want to work off version 4 then?
We would,
That's fine.
should we vote on it?
You know what, I think version,
4,
no, the attorney version.
yeah,
I think that that is easier to go through all the stipulations, and then
Fine.
we just update Rev 4.
Okay,
that's good.
That's
Because it is very similar.
okay.
Do you want to talk about the changes you put into Rev 4, though?
Sure. Well, the changes are all in red.
We're going to go through them now.
The changes are all in red. What we did was we added that there was no hours of operation on Sunday and town recognized holidays, or town observed holidays.
That's a question for me as to what is a town-recognized holiday. Now, how many are there? Where are those found? In other words, is there a particular reference? I mean, some people recognize
question.
3, some
Yep.
5.
Yep.
So,
So those are filed with the town administrator,
okay.
and we can certainly get a copy of those.
How many are there? Do you know?
Probably a dozen or more.
Don't
I'm
know.
gonna say probably 10, maybe,
10?
because I'm thinking that it would be like New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, Martin Luther King's birthday, I think they call it.
President and
President's Day,
President's Day.
Labor Day, 4th of July.
That's gonna be hard,
Day.
All the other town, businesses in town don't have to close down for these
yeah,
holidays, but what are we forced to?
Yeah, we're shooting without knowing, too, and I
yeah.
apologize we don't have that
Yeah.
information.
Sunday, I don't think is an issue, is it, Tom?
No.
No, it's the holidays, and because a lot of people catch up, a lot of people open on holidays.
You want to say national holidays?
Well,
Well,
I
there's
guess I'll,
just as many national.
No, there isn't, there's 7, I think.
well, I could see Christmas, you know, and Thanksgiving, and like the big ones.
Yeah,
I'd say there's 6
I
major,
think most businesses recognize 7.
Right,
And there are, you know, Massachusetts has Bunker Hill Day and Evacuation Day and
yeah, we don't do that at Patriot.
Beanie and Cecil Day. They
Patriots
have all
Day.
sorts of things.
Yeah,
And I don't know what New Hampshire has.
Fast day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what
That's
those are,
the
that's why I'm
So-
asking, it's a
so
little
w-
unclear.
I think sticking with national would be a good compromise because there can't be many more, if there are any more, that the town recognizes.
But what are
Election Day,
those?
maybe, I don't know, but
I would say Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter Sunday,
well, that's
New Year's
Sunday.
Day,
which one?
New Year's Day,
New Year's Day, yeah.
And then it goes Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor
Independence Day,
Day.
July
and
4th and Labor Day. Yeah,
That's the 7th.
that's 7.
Is that reasonable?
it's 6.
I don't understand.
Easter
It's even an issue, like, most of the
Yeah, businesses
other
generally
businesses
close.
operate on a lot of these other days anyway, so.
Well, they're not open Christmas Day,
Yeah.
Easter,
Hmm.
Thanksgiving.
Easter's not one of them, but Easter's a Sunday.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So then, that's the national ones. So I'm gonna write them down. It's just for my own
It'd be
Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving.
New Year's Day,
New-
Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Is that 7?
6.
Yeah, that's 6 days.
What's the other one?
Those are the big
That's
ones.
fine.
Okay.
Veterans Day?
That's not a holiday.
No.
And you know, a lot of people are
Well, you know what
open
they do,
those
is they
days.
give the day after Thanksgiving off instead of Veterans Day. But
But those 6 days, that would be fine. Yeah, they're like Sundays, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and Sundays is fine. Okay. Now, there was a question on the hours.
Yeah.
I have notes 7 to 9 that were originally on the,
Monday through Friday?
yes.
Yeah, and we, at the
And we had
meeting last
discussion.
time, we talked about 7 to 7, I think. That was the edit.
I don't remember 7 to 7.
talking about the noise ordinance at that time?
Yeah, and compared it.
What does the noise ordinance say?
7 to 7.
Now, as to the hours of operation, on the one, and this is a little distinction.
Yeah.
On one of the things that I had put in is hours of noise generating operation 7 to 7. That would be like running machines but if somebody's inside doing paperwork or sweeping the floor and cleaning the office, why is that a problem after hours? That's pretty quiet.
Well, that's not a problem. If we were saying that, I think the discussion then was that there would be maybe time people would come in and do the books or do something.
Right.
But you wouldn't be open for business.
In other words, customers coming
So the
and going.
hours of operation of business is what we're talking about, right? 7 to 7. And if somebody came in to sweep the floor, or wife did the books or something, that's not,
I thought it was more activity.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
So
You're
the only
saying-
thing is, if, you know, the attorney has said hours of noise generating operation, if we spell out what those noise generating operations are, then
You
we'd
can't
have
hit
to.
everything. Why don't we just say business, hours of business operation?
But then how do you define that?
Well, if they're there, not doing business, right?
What about saying like being open to the public?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Or, and the noise ordinance covers loud noises, right? That's 7 to 7. But I do, well,
That gets us back to the issue that we had, though, which is why
Yeah.
all the abutters were here, was the noise generating.
well, that's 7 to 7.
Activity.
We discussed that as being consistent with the noise ordinance. But the business operation,
Noise generating business operations. How's that?
Noise generating business operation 7 to 7?
yeah, okay. It's just so hard. You wouldn't, well, I'm gonna jump in, thinking that if you had sales and you had people coming and going, that's, could
But
be,
you're open then, right?
yeah, but I'm not, nobody's interested in seeing any customers after 7 o'clock at night.
that's why I say,
anyway, so
if we could make it a little different.
What are you thinking?
That's why I was
Not
saying,
just noise operation, but business
well, that's why I was saying being closed to the
Open to
how do
the
we
public?
public
Define-
customer, the walk-in customer, there wouldn't be any of that
Yeah.
after 7 o'clock.
let's think
How
about
about
the.
noise generation and sales operations?
Oh,
Or business open to the public?
business operation, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me, there was a gentleman here, since we're having this roundtable.
So, the last meeting, I've been to all of them, I was like 500% sure it was 7 to 9, Monday through Friday.
No, it was, when
It
we
was,
had
and
it
we
written
changed
down,
it.
but we did talk about, and this is why we're cleaning it up and trying to understand, but we did talk about the noise and the fact that it's consistent with the noise regulations, so, and that's really what I think the intent of the change may have been, that kind of thing, and open to the public, 7 to 7.
Okay, well, let's use open to the public. for
Noise, would be noise and open to the public 7 to 7.
sure. Okay,
And should we be silent about the rest? Or 7 to 9?
I just want to write it down and look at it.
No, I wouldn't restrict them if they're just there doing book and or anything like that. Or, I mean,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said,
Well,
sir.
I don't think we should be restricting what you do after hours by yourself and your business.
As long as you're quiet.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
I mean, who's
That-
gonna know?
Right.
Okay, let's get everybody back, but, and I would agree, personally, I worked on some crazy hours, but I was just writing or doing something non-public and non-noisy, you know? What do you, we'll just we silent on the other and say that
So what is the final verbiage on this?
I think Mary Ellen was writing it down.
Hours of noise generating and/or open to the public business
Shall be 7 to 7.
shall be 7 to 7.
Monday through Friday,
And 8 to 5 on Saturday.
okay. Does that work?
Yes, I think it does.
Now, this is the way it's in, that, there's always the importance of enforcement and other things, so work hard to do it right, both.
So we're agreeing on noise generating business operations and open to the public, 7 to 7?
Yes.
Yeah, hours of
And
operation,
or open
hours,
to the public.
hours of noise generating and/or open, parentheses, open to the public
Shall be limited 7 to
businesses.
7.
I think that works. Okay.
Can we just stop back with one?
Sure, go ahead.
Because,
Number 1 is what?
number 1, on the attorney's copy, all vehicles, outdoor display, and associated storage shall be limited to the unit and its appurtenant, am I saying?
Appurtenant.
Appurtenant outdoor storage display parking area as shown on Exhibit A and will be appended to any lease agreement for that unit. So what that's saying is that any vehicles, outdoor display and storage will coincide with the unit on 1517 to the parking area on 14. And that parking schema, if you will be attached to the lease. So there's
Yes.
no confusion by the
Yes.
tenant on what they can and can't do.
That was exactly what I thought would
Okay.
help to keep things,
It will.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't want to preempt the planning board when they get into detail.
understood.
So we might say as,
No, I'm saying that I agree with that. I'm okay
Okay.
with that. But the planning board may do something a little different.
Understood.
But from a zoning perspective, I'm saying that stipulation is what's required. How it's mapped out by the planning board is a planning board function.
yeah, I would like to add in, as shown on Exhibit A and further detailed in site plan approval.
We could do that, too. Yeah.
It's very sensitive how the boards cover each other and don't cover each other.
Yeah, I've heard.
So after unit, you're gonna say based on further planning board site plan?
No, I say the pertinent outdoor storage display parking area is shown on Exhibit A and is further detailed on approved site plan. Okay? And that probably would be added to item 2 as well.
Employee parking, yep, the same thing. The thing is that I would like to add in, employee parking shall be limited to the area designated on Exhibit A and/or any off-road space included with the unit, because they can have both, right?
Yeah.
You can have parking in the unit, outside the unit, as long as it's
Yep, yep.
off-road.
I'm
and-
fine with that.
So it's and/or.
And I had lumped them all together, and what I had put there, I put outdoor display, storage, and parking, all to be within the designated Exhibit A area. So, I think we're all saying the same thing.
And again, I would add as further detailed on approved site plan.
Okay.
Okay? That makes sense.
Yep.
We already talked about 3.
Yep.
Hours of noise generating and/or open to the public business shall be conducted 7 a.m. to 7 Monday through Friday and 8 to 5 on Saturday. No hours on Sunday, or, do we want to say federal holidays, or what do they call the national holidays?
Why don't we be specific and name the days?
I think so,
Okay,
too.
all right.
We have the 6 days.
And
we-
legal holidays defined as
Start with New Year's,
Memorial Day.
well, let's go by the first of the year.
New Year's Day.
Memorial Day, July 4th,
Wait a minute, you're going fast.
Labor Day,
Labor,
Labor Day,
Thanksgiving, and Christmas.
and Christmas.
2, 4, that's 6, okay.
Any holiday that waste management people observe.
July 4th is Independence Day, right? The way we're going, we'll probably make that like randomly April 15th or something, right?
Okay, now, number 4?
I was fine with number 4, because that's the same as what we have. Sales is from the unit.
Yes, I'm fine, too.
Yeah.
Yep. 5?
The only thing on 5 is that we need to say industrial and commercial uses.
Number 5.
Number 5,
Yeah.
granting of the variance for the above-noted industrial and commercial uses.
They're defined terms in our ordinance such that it'd be, we are using industrial uses here.
Number 5 is on your list.
On your list.
Oh,
I'm on yours.
We use your compressed list.
oh,
We're using your compressed.
okay.
Because it's gonna be the
Oh,
same.
yes,
Yeah.
It's industrial and commercial uses.
okay.
Let's skip.
It's in caps because it's a defined term.
Yes.
Or underlined.
But I don't know why we have to capitalize uses. To me, it's not a defined term. Let's not capitalize uses and industrial, commercial, then it's clearly a defined term.
Can we hold off on 6? For 1 minute? So 7 I was okay with.
Yep.
I don't know about anybody else. And 8 I was okay with. And we already, on the other copy, we had already taken out the other one, making it conditional. Because we can't make it conditional. We took that out.
Right, and I think the enforcement is basically under the statutes. That's most consistent.
Number 7, I've felt that Toll Street itself, we don't have setbacks on that. 30-foot setbacks? Okay, is that right?
It's Accepted Street.
Okay, we're good then.
Well, the front
We're
setback,
fine.
yeah, 30
Okay.
feet. And then any violations point to the RSA. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I was reading the detail. Now back to 6?
Yeah, number 6, I thought we should take that out because 14 Toll Street, the zoning administrator determined that that variance is expired.
But I don't agree
That's an
necessarily.
open issue.
It-
I don't agree.
It is,
I agree it's an open issue. Who's right, I don't know.
right. I agree. And I think if the variance goes away, you're right back to the grandfathered uses again.
Well, that was my
So-
other question.
Go ahead.
I
It's
so
hard to-
wish I had the money for law school. That gets back to even advertising 14 Toll Street, because in the staff report, it stated that suggested advertising for a variance on 14 Toll Street for uses not allowed in the TR zone that have not been existing non-conforming uses. And what the applicant is asking for is parking, storage, and display, like the,
Here, I thought if, when you go to, in the, I guess the grand scheme of things, you'd be putting together a site plan detailed of maybe not just short-term, but long-term
Yes,
uses, even on 14 with the planning
Yes.
board.
it would be everything.
And my guess is you'd be coming back here for some changes on 14, because in the beginning of this discussion, it was only 15 and 17. So there'd be some problems with 14 that we hadn't addressed, possibly.
You're right, and no matter how you look at it, it's not gonna fit in the box exactly.
No,
Because we're dealing with this vegetable soup of,
yeah, but I thought then you'd come back, because it was specifically excluded from this, from your first application.
it was not listed on the application, but we noticed everybody that abuts 14 also. So the notices have gone out.
The
and-
problem with the notice is it didn't mention 14. And I would say in this case, 14, 15, and 17 are owned by the same person for the same purposes, so maybe it's not as big an issue as it would be normally. That's something to discuss. But because of the way it was set up originally, and we didn't know what the long-term for 14 was, and I figured there'd be potentially more changes, or as you got into the planning board, things would evolve.
Could be.
Such that you would probably be back here on 14 to make it part of this overall thing succinctly stated, you know?
At some point, yes.
So that's where I felt in the beginning, let's keep it vague. And that's where I was wrong, as the town attorney advised us, that we had to say something more specific about 14. So now here we are. Yeah, go ahead.
As we started on this variance process, a lot of the activities are exactly what's been going on for years and years anyways.
Yeah.
And we just wanted the proper terminology applied to that and the proper titling on it. So with that also, as the discussion branches across the street into 14 tolls, those activities also are not changing from what they already are, or the placement or the organization of it. And the usage of that has been scaled back drastically, less industrious from what
Okay.
it was before
So,
in the last 15 years. But that front 75 feet of road frontage is exactly how it's been broken down, apportioned, and managed for the last 15 years.
so that's
so-
covered
So
here.
they're non-conforming existing non-conforming uses is what I was getting at.
Well, except it had a
So-
variance back in those years. So
Right,
it never
that's-
stopped being used according to the variance.
Yeah,
Well, no, there was no variance to park like heavy equipment there, or to park
But
the
all
granite there.
all the pictures that we showed
Yeah,
you of
so
all the heavy
it-
equipment
Yeah,
in
I
the
guess what
pit
I'm, yeah.
and all
It's
the
muddy.
Technically.
there wasn't a variance, but it's existing non-conforming.
Yeah, it's existing non-conforming, right, but the other variance, I mean, it's something that you may want to think about, is the other variance on 14 tolls that restricts, there's no retail sales, so it restricts that property. So you may want to think about that for the future, either allow it to expire, or maybe come back for something
But
different.
that's what expired according to research done upstairs, but that's really not an
But-
issue with us at the
No.
moment.
Also,
No.
with about 5 years ago, the town also did approve for retail automotive sales licenses, and before that point, and all the parking and sales for the yard space was conducted on 14 Toll Street.
Okay, so I agree, there's some different positions, but if we can limit it to just this discussion, I would offer that there's more out there that should be addressed.
Yes.
And it may be exposed as part of the planning process,
We'll
or
prob-
may not, but it's, somehow it has to come together.
It will,
And we recognize you may be back here for that purpose too, or not. But-
yes.
Okay.
I think we will as we get to the point where we're moving forward with a more global approach to the property. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think we felt at the beginning we should crack the whole nut at one time, but it didn't seem possible, so.
Yeah.
Well, then if we keep the stipulation in, regardless of whether it's deemed expired or not, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
So we just keep it in.
We'll
And
keep
the
it,
risk is on us if
I
there's
know.
any notice issues, but we'll be back.
but I wanted
Well,
you
we're
to
not
know
doing
we
anything for
recognize that.
14.
I
Yes.
won't speak for the planning board or even what we might do, but we know that, I would offer in good faith, we're here for 15 and 17, recognizing 14.
And that was the most immediate concern right now.
Sure.
So it's the icebreaker, and we'll be back probably to tidy up the details.
And by acknowledging that, butters, the town,
Yes.
everybody knows that it's there.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Anything else on these conditions?
The only other,
What?
no, I'm good.
We did have the other one about planning some kind of screening on the north of 15 and 17. Think, well, comments about that? We know it wasn't the abutters. We did feel that screening in many times is a nice, added feature done in requests of the town. Places like Walmart and others had screening on it to keep the different types of neighborhoods apart. So that's,
I hear what you're saying, but I think where there wasn't an immediate need for it, if we're going to approach something like that, I'd like to see it done as a whole property. And whatever you do on one side, you should do on the other as part of an overall site plan approach where there are landscaping requirements and it's unified.
I was gonna say, many times it's in site plan approval.
It
And that's
is.
where it normally lies, but anyway.
My concern
Yeah.
with including the screening was because of the noise buffer. And if we're limiting that noise to specific hours and not on typical days when an abutter is home, then I'm fine with excluding it.
Yeah, the thing with screening, noise, is that landscaping is a terrible noise screen.
Mhm.
Having been in the business, the experts would say a noise barrier is equal to 300 feet of woods. So it doesn't screen much of anything. This is more visual, but then again, site plan would be part of that.
The only thing, though, is, in defense of natural screening, is that if arborvitaes are allowed to grow tall enough, it deflects light. They deflect light.
Yeah, no,
So
it's
not
a
so much
visual
of a noise,
change, yeah.
but
No,
it's
I
a
agree.
visual change,
agree.
and the lighting.
Yeah. You can hear them, but you don't know why,
Right.
what the
Mhm.
noise is, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see it done as a whole property.
Yeah,
There's some other things in the works too out there, and if
Good.
we put all these pieces together as one parcel and then approach it more globally, I think it'll look that much nicer
agreed.
than having a
And it-
piecemeal approach.
And knowing the planning board, they'll be looking forward to seeing that.
Mhm.
And I would venture to guess the abutters would be at those meetings to help reinforce that.
I'm sure.
So I personally I'm all right with not having it. How's the rest of the board feel?
I agree.
We're okay, just to bring
Okay.
up. Anything else?
Okay.
I think we've got a lot in here.
That's all of my list, I think, that was on mine.
Any,
Going
The
back
only
to.
thing is that,
go ahead.
our list specifically states, like, that are we going with our list with these updates?
I
just
think
wanted
we were
to know
look,
the approach.
I think we were looking at these updates to be inserted back into our list, but go ahead.
We
You
had
see something different?
Yeah, no, the only thing is that we state on the attorney's copy, on stipulation number 4, that the motor vehicle, trailer, and snowmobile sales and rentals would be conducted from 1517 Toll Street. The
That's what-
other activity is conducted within. So do we want to add that as a stipulation, that the activity is, on the others are conducted within the walls of the bays on 1517 Toll Street?
Now, that's something I have questions on, because that was not something we talked about before.
No,
This showed
that could
up
be.
here.
Right.
What do we, let's talk about the distinction between the two. To me, from 15 and 17 tolls means that the business side of that is done on 15 and 17, and maybe parking and storage, some of those vehicles occurs on 14.
14,
Is
right.
that what we're saying? Is that what the term "from" means?
We understand you want the business conducted from 1517.
Right.
And that's fine. The part that we're kind of having a hard time with here is conducting everything within the 4 walls of the building.
Yeah, because you're gonna have some outside of,
There's
on
some,
15 and 17?
well, there's some things it's just not practical to get them into the building to work on them.
Well, so where would you do it?
Well, sometimes you have to work on something outside because it's too large, and I think Tom could address that.
Like a
Which
lot
is
of-
okay, but you do it on 15 and 17.
Yeah, sometimes we'll like empty out the front parking spots and we'll
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
a longer trailer like up against the side of the building because it's off the roadway,
Right,
but
but
we need
it's
to
on
be.
15 and 17. I
Right.
think that's
Yes.
what we're
Right.
talking
Yeah,
about,
no,
right?
see, when we had the discussion before was the fact that we didn't want motor vehicle or ATV repair or body work to be done outside the bay. That was the issue.
Yeah, but I assume this would be kind of prep work and the work would be done in the bay?
Yeah, nobody's gonna be painting anything outside, it's just, sometimes it's, like if you
Should
have
we,
a,
should we talk about what's done outside then, more
Well,
specific?
within the walls, that's the part that's troubling, right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell them everything's gotta go inside when some things, as a practical matter, don't fit inside. I mean, we could say primarily,
What do, what,
as he just describes, like if you've got a big piece of machinery, and let's just say you have to do some welding on it, and it doesn't fit inside the bay because it's such a big piece of equipment.
yeah,
Now we're in
that's the
violation.
exception, not the rule?
I think
Well, the
it
thing is, I mean, is
isn't
that
it?
type of business appropriate for that site then?
Well, it's been done on it, that's the issue. Well,
I mean, that's the biggest concern for the
There's-
abutters, is the noise that's being generated by the businesses that are there. And if they're conducted inside the bay, it minimizes the noise.
During
So-
the day, there's no noise restriction.
It's
Yeah,
much,
there
it's
is.
much
Less.
greater, the limits are.
lesser.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And if he has an occasional large piece of machinery come in that has to be handled outside
Yeah.
because it doesn't fit inside,
Yeah.
I don't see where that's the problem, because it is the exception
I
of the
think it's a
rule.
matter of amount done outside,
amount.
inside.
We could say primarily, or we'll make best efforts, but I think the problem we're having with the very narrow language is, okay, we did a weld job right outside, and Bruce goes by, and next thing we have an enforcement action. You know,
I'll
not
sh-
that Bruce is,
No, I'll give you an example. I had a car repaired in Hudson, bodywork. And a lot of they had so much there that there was at least 3 cars where they were sanding and filling and replacing pieces outside.
we only,
It wasn't that it was big. It was that the business had been so busy that they had 4 more cars inside. So that's, I think, going more to the issue of amount versus size.
they have so much space to work within.
Yeah,
A tenant comes in, they pay for the space inside the building and the related space outdoors.
yeah.
How do you tell somebody, I'm gonna lease to you, and then start telling them, but you can't do this, you can't do that?
Well,
You know?
But in 14, we know it's gonna be storage, basically, right? And you're
And
doing the.
display.
And parking.
And you're doing everything on 15, now we're just talking about inside, outside, and how that arrangement is, right?
And there's not that much room outside.
No,
on
anyway.
15.
Yeah, no, I agree, it's different than, what I was trying to make an example of what,
Yeah, there's not that much room, but we're before the board here and trying very, very hard to make sure we're gonna strictly
yeah.
comply, and we're concerned with some, you know.
Should the word primarily satisfy that? Where were we,
No, because you can't, that's not anything that's enforceable, primarily,
well,
you know?
everything's either not or enforceable. If, to use the word none, that has to be enforced too, right?
I guess what type of activity do you think is gonna be loud and excessive loud? Welding's not loud.
No.
That's, I mean,
What do you think?
what would be an
I think,
activity?
I think we're going to routine work outside, right? That's the issue. And if we can get to a phrasing that
just limit the work and service activity to 15, 17?
I'm sorry?
Can we just limit the work and service activity to lot 15 and 17?
Well, that's where the issue remains. We would prefer it be done, I think the word primarily inside is what we're looking for, right?
I'm
Are we
trying-
on number 4? Are we addressing number 4 right now?
No.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
have to work outside.
We're talking about sales. How can we,
No.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
what are we on?
We're talking about the fact that there's no stipulation on the attorney's copy to
For that.
cover the stipulation that we had in our document that says activity is to be within the four walls. There's no stipulation.
What if we
so-
add the word primarily within the,
Sir.
Go ahead.
In the noise variance, isn't there actually a decibel level set
Yeah,
within the
there is.
7 hours?
there is.
So wouldn't that already restrict and govern what noise we're allowed to produce in that front parking lot area?
Agreed, I think, I'm gonna speak for maybe what I think we're saying is that we're looking to limit this as an option, but we want the work done mostly inside.
Well, if we
So
said,
do I. It's nice to be out of the weather and the hot sun, but.
No, I understand.
And to also, you gotta look at, like, I got the biggest unit down there and I only got 4 parking spots in front of the building. So that
Yeah, it's not a lot
alone
of
very
room.
much limits how much outside I'm doing.
the size limits it.
So then how about something like all business activity shall be conducted from 1517 Toll Street within the town of Hudson or Hudson zoning Hudson noise regulation?
But don't we have all
That's
business
already-
activities
We don't
from?
need that.
That's already in the noise ordinance that applies to everybody, so. It's already there.
That's true.
Business
We don't have,
activities
where do we have that? What number on your sheet?
on the noise ordinance?
No, on
No, it
your,
isn't that, all right, I thought we.
it's not there.
I don't have, I just have it takes place. I presumed it'll take place on 15 to 17 and not in the storage area. Is
Right,
that
that's
pretty
the-
Well,
accurate?
that and 14 isn't really before us today, so.
Well, no,
But
we are
it's
talking
storage.
15
I
and
get it.
17, it's a matter inside, outside of it. Ideas?
No,
Anybody?
my biggest concern is the fact that there's outside activity of auto repair, auto body work, that type of activity.
How could they do that outside?
Like there has been for the last 15 years, because it's always been going on. We're just asking for the right titling to the activity that's already been going on. We're not asking for anything new. It's the same
Yeah,
old, same old.
It's self-limiting because there's so little exterior space around the building on 15 and 17, I guess.
Right, but that's what's generating the complaints.
Yeah, but what was really generating the complaints of those,
That
are
one
the party
spot.
boys who are gone
That
the
and
end of
we
the
s-
month.
That and we still, honestly, besides somebody making a verbal complaint, we still don't have any tangible evidence at all.
That's
Yeah,
true.
That aside, yeah,
anything.
no, I understand.
That is, because if we go to.
I'm just trying, I mean, the abutters have just as much rights as the applicant, you know that.
Right.
And I'm just trying to make sure that we watch out for that as well.
But if we're complying with the noise ordinance
Right.
during the day, when we're allowed to conduct business, we're being treated fairly, like the abutter could make just as much noise. And as long as we're under the noise ordinance during the hours of operation, we should be fine. Where things go on shouldn't matter. Noise is noise, whether it's come from inside the building or outside of the
Well,
building.
then it gets to the question of, do we allow other businesses to do car repair and auto body work outside the shops?
Sure we do. We do it everywhere. And it is an issue about the amount of cars and whatever. But my brother had an auto body shop, and most of the work was done inside because the lifts, the compressors, all that really necessitated bring it in. But if there was a, yeah,
Yeah, they're not, no exterior
but,
lifts.
but, so it was limiting, not to say he didn't move outside sometimes, but he really, knowing his business, he did it inside because of inclement weather, for one, convenience of equipment. And these people would be working on multiple cars at the same time on adjacent lifts. So if we use the word primarily, to me, it really implies that when you can, you go inside.
Absolutely.
And I would think it's self-limiting for the ability to do certain kinds of work inside. To me, I was thinking more the granite people busting granite and stuff outside, or doing sawing outside, which is dusty and other things, go ahead.
Granite gentleman has a big wet saw on an arbor that is faceted to the floor, and
See, I don't know
doesn't
that
ever go
business, so I was
outside,
wrong.
and all their grinding and polishing material is a wet lubricated system, so it's all done inside.
I would offer the word primarily.
And I do think it is self-limiting.
It generally is, and I do think noise is the issue, dust, other things, but those are regulated by ordinance. Go ahead.
Like they said, any of the outside activity or work done is controlled by our zoning, our ordinance of noise. So they'd be in compliance even if the work was being done outside.
Yeah, I do respect the problem in that sometimes past history bleeds into our thought process.
True.
Well, I'm just thinking not even past history, but going forward. How does
No,
a
I
zoning
understand.
administrator, code enforcement officer enforce something like that?
It
As
is
much as
tricky.
anywhere else, is all I'd offer.
Yeah.
Two
Good.
things was that, like you said, both have rights, both sides, the residential side and the commercial side, and that should always be respected. But at the same token, the commercial buildings were there long before their houses were. And they have to know that there's gonna be commercial noise from commercial buildings when they buy a house that's abutted directly to the back of a commercial building. And number two,
It's,
she said earlier that, well, we're here for this because of the noise complaints, but I gotta tell you, we're not here because of the noise complaints. We're here getting a variance because
Agreed.
I was denied permits by your inspectors.
I-
And forced up the ladder, and we've gone through a lot of talk with the town's attorney, and that really shouldn't have happened. So, that's why we're here. We're not here because of a noise complaint. The noise complaints started generating and the calls started coming in, and the police were called down to, be all over my tenants about it with no real evidence, okay, on a nightly basis by one person and one person only. And that happened repeatedly, immediately after the abutters notices went out.
But the other
we've gone
part,
through all that.
Yeah.
I know,
Respect
but that's the reason
what
why
you're
we're here.
saying, and we did have a selectman here who
But the
was
oth-
part of it, so let's not relive, but
We're not
I
gonna.
do think we've come a long way.
we have,
We're closing in on it, and I would like to think we've been fair to every party, and every
We have.
party's gotten to understand the other party,
Yeah.
so.
I do think too, though, that if I recall correctly, the problems with noise were primarily at night and in the evening.
Agreed.
I don't recall anybody really complaining about the day activities, unless I missed something.
No, you're correct.
and
That's why
I-
I said that. I
Yeah,
said
at
we're
night
limiting
is
it
different.
because- Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I would offer that, from my recollection, most of the noise was located in one area, and these properties abut to the south, or they're open to the south, and what we're talking about is work on the south. Now,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to go through planning board to develop 15, and any, or if it's the one on the water side, because it's an open lot, and that, to me, is gonna involve a lot of things beyond what we have, and,
No, we'll work through
Yeah.
it one day at a time, but
yeah, but I'm saying that that'll probably rectify itself for lots of things.
I think so.
But,
The
Go ahead.
noise also too, the party that's renting that as of now will be out of there at the end
yeah,
of this
you had
month.
said that.
And Ed McNulty, who is the neighbor that his lot's pretty much squared off to the back of that building, he rented it for the next year, so he'll be occupying both the commercial boundary and the
That's right,
residential
I
boundary.
remember
Good.
that.
It's a
Okay,
good fit.
can we, go ahead.
I got a question for you. What happens if in an emergency situation that something happens at 15 or 17 or even 14, where like when, and I'm gonna use an example, one winter, the ice come off the roof and ripped his electrical right off the building. Now what happens if somebody comes in, has to come in to repair that, whether it be National Grid, not National
I
Grid,
think
but
there's,
electric company has to come in and
I don't know the ordinances, but I know there's case study all over where they work. I think people generally would like them to come in to fix their problems. And not just you, but there may be problems with the butters too in that case. But I'm sure that's handled within the
but that
town
would be an
ordinances, and I'm,
exception to the rule?
what?
That would be an exception to the rule?
I would think, I would say yes, and I think it's also incorporated in some rules for emergency
Okay.
situations, you know?
Alright.
But I can't answer that, we won't address that here.
Okay, so can we agree on primarily within the buildings?
Yeah.
It's better
So
than
that's
not
gonna
having
be
it
another
in.
stipulation, right?
Well,
Unless you add it to
It-
4.
yeah, I think it's in 4.
That just says the sales and rental shall be conducted from.
Well, that's no sales and rental, I'm not sure sales and rental is the issue, though. It's repair.
I was looking at the repair and service section.
Right,
Yeah, but I'm looking at yours,
Oh,
and you
I
don't
gotta
have
go
it
back.
addressed, that's why I raised
why
it.
don't we put a
Yeah.
number 9 down,
Okay,
call it specifically? Because number 4 is good the way it reads.
And number 9 is gonna read how?
So it would be, see, that's why I said for number 4, it says, all motor vehicle, trailer, and snowmobile sales and rental shall be conducted from 14/17 Toll Street. And then like a semicolon, all other activity shall be primarily.
15/17,
What'd I say?
Yeah.
14/17.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
15. I'm
I just
looking at
wanted to make
15,
sure.
I said
Yep.
14.
It's okay.
Good
Then a
catch.
semicolon, all other activity shall be conducted primarily from within.
Yeah, okay, that works too.
yep, I think we got an understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else in this Rev 4 that isn't addressed?
So would the same language apply throughout? Because we just went over repair and service. Would that same primarily from within the building or the bay or with the union, whatever, apply to number 4 throughout on Rev 4?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, now
What?
that I'm going through this, I
Yeah.
hate to, I'm not, I think I'm okay with this, with the attorney's copy.
Sure.
Consolidated.
Yeah.
As long as we spell out all the changes to the stipulations.
Okay,
That's fine.
I'm fine with
I can
that.
read them into the record, read them in.
Sure.
And see if we agreed with all of
Why,
them.
why don't we take an edited version, attach it to the record, and then revise the whole thing?
That's a good idea.
You know what I mean? You can read it in for testimony, but I think we should attach it.
Because other than that, I think we pretty much are the same.
We're there, I
think
think.
we've kind of covered everything,
And
don't
if we can
you?
finish it tonight, I think we'd all be happy.
I don't think, was there anything
I'm never happy,
else
Mr.
in
Chairman.
Me either.
this version?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Anything else here that you had a question on?
I haven't seen anything, no.
Did you go through all the pages?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, just want to make sure. So if we're carrying those same thoughts through the remainder, I don't think we had any other,
No. I was trying to think what the attorney, I don't think he had any other.
no, his concern was an illustration and then the questions about 14, but we've kind of touched upon all those. There was only 3 things he emailed me about earlier this week. And then I kind of just incorporated that into my list to deal with.
Yeah. Is there anything else, Susan?
I think we're good.
So do you want me to read in, like,
What about the additional stipulations?
I combined those together too, and that was in, now we got 9, right? 9 of them at the end?
no, I added that 1 to 4. No 9.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay,
The
Granted.
additional stipulations are already covered in the attorney's copy, except for the natural screening, which I think we've decided to remove. Not to speak for the board, but that's what I thought.
Okay, yeah, I was just reading it.
So,
Yeah,
okay, what's on the table right now then, just for clarity,
okay.
is commercial uses. Motor vehicle, motorcycle, trailer, snowmobile, ATV, sales and rental. Motor vehicle, motorcycle, trailer, snowmobile, ATV, repair and service as defined, right? Motor vehicle, motorcycle, snowmobile, ATV, general body repair.
Yep.
That's defined here, because I don't think it's defined in our ordinance. Business or professional office, garaging 2 or more light commercial vehicles, that's from the definitions from the ordinance. Garaging and parking of medium, heavy commercial vehicles and/or equipment, defined again. And both the vehicle and the heavy equipment's defined.
Yes.
Industrial uses that is being requested are welding shop, machine shop, stone or monument light manufacturing or fabricating, light manufacturing, retail sale of products manufactured on the premises, self-storage. But all of those items, the commercial uses and the industrial uses, are being requested for 15/17 Toll Street. And on the table are the following stipulations. Can I read them?
Sure.
I'll go slow.
Great.
I'm going to talk a
Before we
little
go
louder.
there,
Yep.
I apologize, but I don't see, is it landscaping?
And the last one
Well,
is
the
storage of
tree servicing.
Did we miss it?
Yep.
Is it in there?
Nope. Well, examples include but not limited to granite countertops, headstones, etc. It's not in there.
It should be,
So,
You want landscaping, right?
yes. It should have been after.
storage of loom, yeah, it has to be added in, so,
I don't know where that
Think-
went.
That was, from my memory, all that,
It was.
yeah, it's in my copy.
Yes,
On
it
page
is.
5.
Right.
Storage of loom, sand, gravel, stone, or other aggregate used in landscaping, comma, stone fabrication, arborist, and/or snow removal. That's how we had it.
Now, in my copy, and I don't know where it went, it's not on this copy that she made, we had talked about this today, because when I spoke with Attorney LaFever on the phone, he questioned like an industrial-sized landscaping, and what we agreed to, after I talked to Tom, was a maintenance-type landscaping company where the storage of materials was accessory, so that it was small and limited, not big, huge piles of material.
that's kind of what we talked about in general here, wasn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had refined that language, and what I had said was, it was, how did you say it? Engaging in the maintenance,
But we don't have the language here.
yeah, I
Well,
don't know what.
Bruce calls them incidentals. Like incidental maintenance, incidental
Oh, yeah,
materials.
that's fine, that's a term.
But
So-
where we're talking about 15 and 17 tolls, and where it's understood that there's limited parking on that side of the road, you really don't have the yard space to even contemplate having a materials yard there. So it's not, even if somebody wanted it to happen, it's just not gonna happen. you know, there's
Well,
nowhere to put, there's nowhere to put piles of dirt,
No,
you know.
no, but it could be leftover or something, you know what I mean? So we could leave it open, so.
But again, I mean, I just spent all a bunch of money cleaning all that land up. I'm not gonna let it go back to being a mess again.
So how do you
So
call
how
it?
about storage of loam, sand, gravel, stone, or other aggregate typically used in a landscaping maintenance operation?
Perfect.
And if you wanna, we could say incidental stone, loam, et cetera, to go with you're saying,
That's
this
fine.
isn't a full.
Yeah,
But
that's,
that gives you the ability to, if you're
That's-
bringing it back or something.
yeah, that's just a terminology that, like, Bruce had brought directly out of his book.
Yeah, and it's used
so,
for other things, sure.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
fine.
Okay, so then we've
So
got.
that should be a separate bullet then,
I
Yeah.
think so.
yeah.
And
Okay.
stone fabrication, arborist, and snow removal has to be added back on.
Well, you,
Why don't we add it to stone or monument, light manufacturing or fabricating, comma, arborist and/or snow removal.
Mary Ellen, we're gonna
Okay.
use yours as the record copy?
Yeah, but I'm not giving this up to anybody until I get a copy of it.
Arborist and
Okay.
or
No.
snow removal.
I'm gonna
Okay.
ask, there's no other missing,
No, I don't know where that fell off, but it did.
that's okay, I just, I
Okay,
wanna be sure.
good catch. I just remembered it because we talked about it today.
Well, it's different type of operation than these others too, because it's unique in a way.
It is, and it's smaller.
Right,
Because,
right.
as Tom said, 15, 17's pretty limited.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Okay,
So we have all the uses. Now, do you want me to
Yes.
read stipulations?
I do now, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Bear with me because all vehicles, stipulation 1, all vehicles, outdoor display, and associated storage shall be limited to the unit. Oh, wait a minute. All vehicles, outdoor display, and associated storage shall be limited to the unit,
And it's a pertinent
and it's a
outdoor,
pertinent outdoor storage display parking area as shown on Exhibit A and is further detailed on the site plan.
approved site plan,
Planning Board.
yeah. But this is a record of what's done. The approved site plan,
Yeah, on the approved site plan.
that's all.
Oh, okay, approved. I didn't hear you say approved first time around. That's
Oh,
why
I'm sorry.
I was looking at you.
I-
Approved site plan and will be amended to any lease agreement for that unit. Stipulation, I just didn't, okay, stipulation 2, employee parking shall be limited to the area designated on Exhibit A and/or any off-road space included with the unit. And this is Exhibit A. Okay? Hours of noise generating and/or open to the public business shall be conducted from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Sunday. There are, Saturday. There are no hours of operation on Sunday and holidays defined as New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day. All motor vehicle, are you okay with that?
Mhm.
Number 4, all motor vehicle, trailer, and snowmobile sales and rental shall be conducted from 1517 Toll Street. All other activity shall be primarily conducted within the bays on 15/17 Toll Street. Okay? Number 5, granting of variance for the above noted industrial and commercial uses is contingent upon the applicant completing a site plan review through the planning board within 2 years of the date this variance is approved, subject to the terms listed herein and duly noted on the recorded plan. 6 we're just keeping as is, 7 we're keeping as is, and 8 we're keeping as is.
One question.
Okay.
We added industrial and commercial on 5, shouldn't it be on 6 also?
Yes.
Yeah, same way, lowercase u. I don't understand that. Any questions from anybody here on what we've got? Seeing no one.
No questions.
Okay. Any,
Is that it for stipulations?
Yep.
What happened to 7?
nothing?
As
7 stays at, just 6, 7, and 8 stays as is.
Except for the change in 6 for industrial.
All right, so no 9 has been incorporated with 4, right?
Yeah.
We'll have, can the recorder make the adjustments to the stipulations?
If I get an electronic version, I can.
I see.
That
Does,
way you
can I, want me to go, is it open upstairs that we can go up that way for a photocopy machine?
What I would like to do, barring further discussion, is to incorporate that now with our decision sheets, so there's no mistake when it's put together. And I'd also like to put in the whole package of what the
Well,
conditions of the variance are.
We will have to be producing a notice of decision
But-
for the 3 variances that are in front of the board, and we can have a clean copy of this attached to each motion, each
Okay.
notice of decision.
I'm just, it's complicated, I don't want any changes or
Mary
other
Ann's work,
versions
we'll use
arising
John.
or any, so we'll be as careful as we can.
Screenshot of that.
if
Okay.
Tom can do that, take a picture of
That's
Mary-
fine.
And then I can have my secretary type it if you want and email it to Bruce or you all tomorrow. Well, Bruce is not here till
I
Tuesday.
would like to kill all the copies and just have one go forward. And I
Okay.
think Bruce already has this,
Okay,
and we'll make sure he adjusts that. We'll review it, you'll review it.
okay,
But
that's fine.
if there's more discussion, we should do it now, but we're close. I'm gonna say if, we may even vote on it tonight.
I think we're fine with
Okay.
what we've just
But I
walked
wanna make
through.
sure that in tomorrow's version, we don't see something different, slightly different. That make sense?
Yes, sure.
Is there more
If you wanna
discussion?
wait there, I'll have her email it to
Anybody?
you tomorrow.
Thank you.
So which one?
Any more discussion?
So we
I'm
can-
prepared to make a motion.
Before we do, I
If
think
it's
Mike
in-
Petrie is not gonna make it tonight, and I'd like to seat Gary Dearborn in his place. He's been here for the whole meeting and the past meetings.
How come I'm already, Kevin is the
Oh,
alternate.
Kevin, I'm sorry. See, pardon me. So we'll have 5 voting members. Okay.
She'll give it to you.
Are we voting on?
And I'm gonna email it.
Would be
Let's-
me.
So,
Let's talk about what we're voting on and what we're not voting on. These are,
give me a minute so I can find the decision.
everybody have 3 voting sheets tonight?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with A, correct?
There is an issue here, I think, that.
Yeah.
Want to hear that before,
Good, right?
right?
Now, let me just give me a minute. I have 2 decision sheets that are the exact same thing, so that's, okay. So I am making a motion
Go ahead.
first to allow each vested use to take place within any unit located on the property at 15 to 17 Toll Street. And the reason why I'm saying that is that the existing uses today are non-conforming, but they're existing, and the applicant has testified and provided documentation that the uses have been going on for an extremely long period of time. I don't think it'd be contrary to the public interest, because the public knows that those activities are going on currently. What this is allowing then is that the uses that are taking place within a unit today could be swapped out to another unit tomorrow, and without coming in for another variance or a decision by this board. I think it's within the spirit of the ordinance. The uses have been there for a very long time. They don't conflict with, the purpose of the ordinance, and I think substantial justice will be done. Unnecessary hardships, special conditions, it's been in existence for 40 years?
At least.
I think it was
Prior to zoning.
1925 when it
Yeah.
started.
19, yeah, so it's before zoning.
Okay.
Do
So
we want to
here's-
vote on that, or?
We have a second? Second by Mr. Bokosha. All in favor of granting the vested usage with the stipulations?
There's no stipulations on this, though, is there?
Well, you have stipulations on this sheet here, aren't we moving them all to the,
Do we want
Well,
to,
that's because we have the other variance that allows them to use the property in for uses that aren't allowed in a TR zone. And I would think that that goes with,
should it go with both? We're saying each vested use. That's what the variance says.
Yeah.
In a way, do you want to combine? the
yeah, in a
vote?
way, yeah. So what we're saying then is that
It's a
we're
package.
allowing the vested use with the stipulations.
Yes.
Right.
And we're allowing the not allowed uses in a TR zone with the stipulations.
So those are the two that would cover this. This other one,
The third one, I thought it was the same thing.
it says it's not listed in the table. To me, it's the same.
Yeah, but I have two decision sheets for that, is what I'm
Okay.
saying. So we only need two decision sheets.
Yep.
One to allow the uses that are vested.
And I offer that it clearly is a package. And
There's three.
tie this behind it. You want to elaborate on the second variance at all? It's quite similar.
Yeah, I do want to elaborate on that, but correct me if I'm wrong. I am looking, because the lot numbers are different. 08, it's case 172018 and 022B and 022C. Oh, A, B, and C.
Right.
Right. The one that we just did is for the allowing of the vested uses. Another variance is required for those uses that are not allowed in the TR zone.
But it's on
And then
lots.
the third one for uses that haven't made it on our table of uses yet.
No, that's the same. It's just, it's 18, 22B, 22C.
Right.
But
So
it's
the
still
same.
not going to be on our table. It's going to be
Yeah,
part of
it's-
this
it's gonna be
specific
part of the
case.
thing. So if you want to do them all together, yes.
Maybe one,
And all the stipulations and
that okay
Exhibit
with the
A
board?
are tied to
yes.
all
Okay.
three.
All right. You want to talk
how
on,
are we handling C?
C doesn't apply.
Huh?
Well, we're not going to list it in the table of uses. It's specific to this variance.
No, but the thing, no, we're gonna, sorry to,
Or they wanna
No,
include
no.
uses that aren't
it says
listed?
here, the case number is based on the lot, and the lot is 172018, 22A, B, and C.
Right.
So A is the vested uses, which are
Right.
there today.
Yeah.
And then B and C are the permitted uses. They don't need anything if it's vested. I mean, it's not it's non-conforming, existing non-conforming. But we're going to apply the stipulations
To B and C?
to A. I thought
A, yeah. I
A, B,
want
and
A.
C.
So
Yeah, we have the stipulations with each of these variance requests. There wouldn't be any. I have 8 stipulations.
You want to vote on A separately then?
Yeah, sure. That's what we just went
The
through.
vested, got a motion on the
Okay.
second.
I thought
Vested,
we were
motion on the
combining
I'm
B and
saying
C.
to grant the vested
Okay.
uses
All right.
with the stipulations noted in attachment Toll Street variance details final, 07 June 18. That's what I named this.
Right.
And Exhibit A.
A, fine. Let's leave it that way. Second? You still second the,
Yeah,
okay, speak on your second?
there really isn't much to add after what Mary Ellen went through all the criteria, which I agree with, what she said, you know, her comments. I mean, I don't think it is contrary to the public interest because it's something that's been going on. And, spirit of the ordinance, it's, again, it's been a continuing situation, and the spirit of the ordinance, I don't think is to, you know, to restrict grandfathered uses.
Okay.
Or eliminate them, I should say. And justice is obviously being done to this. Often, and there's no harm to the general public because of that.
Okay.
Property's been in this state, and there's no real changes other than improving the, what do you call it, the appearances of the property by cleaning it up, so there's no, wouldn't diminish any property values. And the hardship is in the fact that it's in the TR zone. It was there before zoning, so. What you can do about that?
Pull the board?
Ms. Davis?
To grant with the stipulations in Exhibit A as attached.
Mr. Pecosha?
To grant with the stipulations.
Mr. Dearborn?
Grant with stipulations, so noted.
Mr. Hool votes to grant, and Chairman Brackett.
To grant with stipulations. The vote's 5-0. The variance is carried.
That's for the vested
For
uses,
A.
right?
For A.
For A. So then we have 2 variances to coincide with case 172-018 and 022B and 022C.
Yes.
And I make a motion to grant both variances based on all of the discussion and the agreed stipulations on Exhibit Toll Street variance details, final 07 June 18, and Exhibit A.
Second? Mr.
A
Pecosha?
second, again.
Who's second?
Mr.
Mr.
Pecosha.
Pecosha. I don't think I need to say any more. I mean, we've read all of the
No,
stipulations.
but by your
and
statement, you're attaching,
I'm
Part
attaching
A.
everything, yep,
Yeah.
and Exhibit A.
pull the board.
On both?
Let's try both at once.
Okay. Ms. Davis?
To grant for both case 172-018, 022B, and 022C. And that is to allow the uses not allowed in the TR zone for Site 15 and 17 Toll Street with the stipulations and Exhibit A as discussed. And the same for 022C, to
Yes.
allow, not not on the table of permitted uses.
I got a question on C. Are we just limiting this to the uses that are listed under A and B on the
Under A.
permitted by variance?
The makers said that the stipulations as shown in A, right?
And A only?
The stipulations are
If you're
noted
granting
in
B,
this.
it would be in B? I mean, is it, we're not gonna include something else other than that shows up in this,
That's right.
That's right.
all
Yep.
right?
You're agree,
Yeah.
yeah, so are you okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear in my mind that we're not gonna be putting something in there that's neither here nor in the,
Yeah, hopefully we're not. I mean, that was the intent and the way the motions were made and the attachments were formed, yeah.
I'm good with that.
So I think you need to put on your decision sheet that it's for the uses with stipulations as noted in the Toll Street variance details _ final 07 June 18. Because those are the only uses that are being granted, not anything
Right.
that's not allowed in the TR zone.
Mhm.
So the uses are, and please have the record state that, the uses are only as defined in
Defined on
that, in this
here.
document. Yeah.
Right.
The stipulations were modified from the attorney's copy.
Yeah.
And all those stipulations from the attorney's copies are gonna be put under each one of these uses?
I think we're gonna go with the attorney's copy. Yes, all the stipulations go with all of the
So we're
uses.
taking this and we're putting it under each use.
Do you want them separate?
No,
No, they apply to all of them.
we're combining, that's the discussion that we had. We're not gonna,
The document to be attached to notice of decision, will it be this one without the conditions and then the separate sheet of conditions that apply to all these uses?
yeah, it's one,
It's going to be, it's basically a new document, right? Which is going to have the commercial uses and the industrial uses with edits,
Mm-hmm.
and then the stipulations all as one sheet.
So
Okay.
my
So,
version of it.
Your uses?
Yes.
Yes.
These stipulations.
Yes, but the
it's one
uses will be
condition of the
consolidated.
variance.
The uses will be consolidated as well.
So it's my consolidated list with the stipulations applying to all the
Yeah,
uses.
that's what I didn't wanna get confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
So-
whole thing is
The document I'm gonna
stipulations.
send you.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm gonna try to get upstairs. Do you know if it's locked?
No clue.
Can I take a picture of those real quick?
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
just run
Yeah.
upstairs and see.
Picture's a good idea for us, too.
Yes.
All right, let's continue with the vote.
Okay,
Hold the board?
so this is again for clarification on B and C.
Yes, and the motion that I made is to grant the uses as defined on this document, that's, I'm titling Toll Street Variance Details, Final 07 June 18,
Right,
with the stipulations and Exhibit A,
yeah. Or known as Part A,
Part A, right.
okay.
For
all
bo-
right?
I'm making the same motion for B and
And
C.
C,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
It's very clear now.
Okay. Ms. Davis,
To grant,
As previously
as
stated.
previously stated, the uses that are not allowed in a TR zone, but now defined on document Toll Street Variance Details, Final 07 June 18, along with the corresponding Exhibit A, for both 18, for all 018, 022B, and 022C, known as 15/17 Toll Street.
thank you. Mr. Pecosha,
To grant with the stipulations, et cetera, et cetera.
yes.
Which is important.
Mr. Dearborn,
To grant with the stipulations duly noted.
and Mr. Hool votes to grant with all stipulations, and Chairman Brackett.
To grant with all stipulations. Seeing that all votes are 5-0, you have your variances.
Thank you.
And thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you for working so hard at this.
Yeah.
This was a hard one.
It's a mess.
Well, it is, and I think,
I'm gonna run upstairs and see if
I appreciate it.
go ahead.
Take a quick break.
I just wanted to say, in a way, it's
Get a
precedent
rezone
setting,
that
because we have
property.
other conditions like that on it.
It
It
would
was nice
be-
to see
I mean, it
butters,
should be
owners, and
industrial.
the town try to work together to get it right for all parties, so.
And it worked
So
out
thank you.
fine. I'm sure we'll be back,
Watch,
but we've got a good baseline to work from.
I think we set good ground.
I think we did.
Now, if I
Seeing
set off any alarms.
Yeah, we don't care.
Make
We'll
sure,
call the
We'll
cops.
visit you in jail.
make sure you meet the.
I'll vote for a 15-minute recess.
We're all set.
I already emailed you that.
Be here for the 28th.
I declare the meeting reopened at 8:50. Is there any more business to conduct?
Other one in July either.
No, this was the only case that we had, Mr. Chairman, so.
Okay, give it, and then I don't have anything at this time. The next meeting's the end of the month. Any motions to adjourn? Motions by Mary Ellen and Gary. I declare the meeting closed at 8:50.